Hey everyone, welcome back to the Darrin Collins podcast. We're in this series of episodes. We've been talking about the Adamah, or the assignment. This is episode 4. If you've missed any of the ones leading up to this, we're kind of going from a starting point to kind of a culmination in this episode. So far, we've talked about the circle of concern versus the circle of influence. We've talked about understanding where you've been assigned. That was the second episode, the assignment, the ground beneath your feet. In the last episode, we talked about drifting. You can come off of that assignment in pursuit of good things when there's something great that God has assigned for you. And the culmination of this in this episode, we're going to talk about how it all transitions now into, instead of an individual influence, becoming people that build cities, build communities.
I mean, the reality is, we walk down 1, 2, 3, 4. The biggest part, start where you are. Your work is your assignment. What God's put in your hand to do, that's the assignment of the kingdom for you. Then you get into this thing where you go, well, how do I really grow my impact and start to move things around that are around my region or my city or my community or whatever the case may be. But you don't get to the 12th grade unless you go through 1 through 11. So it's very important that everybody understands the mechanism here. The growing garden, the growing assignment is one day at a time. It's one lever and one level at a time. You don't get to say when it's your time to go to the next level. You don't get to say when it's your time for everybody to hear what I have to say. You only get to do what's in front of you to do with everything that you have inside. That is the only responsibility we have as kingdom ambassadors, as people of faith, whatever you want to call this. That's your only assignment. If you want to find purpose, do what's in front of you to do, and do it with everything inside of it. We used to play baseball as a kid. Well, we played every sport, John. But I was a baseball player, and I remember one summer, man, I was starting to sprout, a little teenager.
Yeah.
And there was 2 cute little girls that their grandparents had a trailer beside my grandparents' trailer at the beach. Grandma and grandpa had a trailer at the beach. And so I wanted to go to the beach during the summer. Well, if you're a baseball player, it's a summer game.
Yeah.
It eats the whole summer up. So my dad was like, well, you can't do both, son. Let me tell you right now, you can't do both. It's not going to work for me. You're not going to tell the baseball coach that you're going to be there.
Yeah.
And you're the star of the team and then not show up to practice and then think you're going to come to the game and show out.
Yeah.
That ain't going to work. My dad wasn't that guy, right? So I had to make a decision. Do I want to be a baseball star, or do I want to go talk to the cute girls at the beach?
Yeah.
Had to make a decision. And every little decision made in life adds to the aggregate of where you're going. But you can't do both things at one time. You can't be an MLB player and miss practice. You've got to be in the garden that you've been assigned to, until the universe or God, or whatever you want to call it, decides it's time for your garden to grow. That's the rudiment element of this. The bedrock of the faith of this whole conversation is that piece. Whatever you find to do it with all your might. And don't try to do more than one thing. Just try to master what you have been. That's the basis of that. And in that, 53 years old, man, I'm a grinder by nature. I'll go so deep. Like I could go weeks and just go in and work. That's who I am as a person. It's always been me, right? I love that part of my soul. It gets a little out of balance sometimes. Thank God for a wife. But in that process of grinding and growing, you get to a place where you wake up one day. I did, John, at 50 some odd years old, and I started to realize that there are people out there that actually want to hear what I have to say. And I didn't know how that unfolded. I didn't know how it worked. I just did what I did and what I was doing, and I just chop every day and swing and work hard. Believe God and read as many books as I can and get as much information as I can. And then one day my garden had matured, and there were, if I was in church, I would teach you the lesson of the Song of Solomon, where he said, you are a garden enclosed, but at the end he says, now I've called the nations to come partake of. And the evolution of that is we start as this small thing,
Yeah.
and the bigger we get, God broadens the openings of our life more and more and more. And that's how you begin to affect cities and communities and all of those different things. But it's one step at a time. Just got to trust the process, and God then matures your garden so that other people can come and partake of the fruit. That's how that works.
You talked about multiple times, I think we talked about it on the podcast, in connection to what you're saying right now. There was a conversation you had with somebody said, you're going to be okay just tending this little garden. Nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
Until you're 50 years old,
Yeah.
You're going to tell that story. But I mean, my season right now is kind of it's not the same, but it's going from a very public face and a very public space to a hidden place.
Right. Right.
And then, so you can tell your story. For me, I don't know, especially now, it's like, whoa, hang on a minute. Like, I bought the rights to that T-shirt already, I thought, and so now you go backward, it feels like, in this place, but the principle is still the same. You look, whatever's right in front of you until.
Yeah, the faith movements, the guys always taught us that. The Kenneth Copeland and the Kenneth Hagins of the world taught us that. How long do I hold my confession? And it's until. It's just until. When it does it, it does it. I had a conversation when I was 35, I believe, 35 years old. It's almost 20 years ago now. The guy asked me, he said, are you going to be okay if God puts you on the back burner until you're 50? He said, I don't know why, but I just feel like that's what's going to put you on the back burner until you're 50. And I was like, well, no, I started cussing. I'm like, that's a bull monkey right there. I started dropping bombs on him. Like, That's not me. I'm doing that right there. I gave my life to this thing, and I'm here and trying to do the quote unquote the work of the Lord. The conversation ended well with, that's what I see. Good luck on that. Right? Yeah. So the process of life proved its point. He didn't get it right much, but he got that one right. But process of life proved its point. This 15-year journey, which I'd already had a 13-year journey prior to the 15-year journey. Another 15 years where I just had to work and grind in my garden of my assignment, and not just work and grind. I don't mean that in a laborious way. I had to. In those 15 years, I was narrowing down, John, who I was. What was I really gifted in?
Yeah.
And then what did I want to say? Like, all the stuff in life and all the moving parts that you could be and should be and would be if only you had the chance. And in the 15-year journey, I just set my head down on what I knew I could get accomplished. And I did it as good as I could possibly do it. And God grew that and grew that and grew that. And then all of a sudden things began to change. And it wasn't like a moment where things began to change. It was like, I think we could do this. And then that worked. And then, well, I think we could do this. And then that worked. And then et cetera, et cetera. It was line upon line. And it was precept upon precept. Here a little, there a little. God just added to my life. And I think in the most part, man, the maturation of your assignment is that it's just faithful in the little bit. Faithful. That's what Jesus taught us. He said, no. Most people think, well, if I had the Maserati or I had the Mercedes or I had the Rolls Royce, I would really take care of it. Well, then either you're lying or Jesus is lying. One of you are telling a fib, because he said whatever you do with the little thing is exactly what you're going to do with the big thing. And no matter how much faith you have or how much charisma you have or how much whatever you have, if you're not okay being faithful in the small things, you can just X out the big things because they're coming to you. And you gotta walk that down in a proper measure. There's humiliation in a 15-year sentence. There's all these things that happen in life where I thought I would. I'm better than them. I should be doing this. They don't know how good I am. They don't know how gifted I am. My wife would tell me how gifted I am. And I got to just hold it and not say a word. But you way better than them. You should be, you should be, you should be. You know how you get the you should be's?
Yeah.
That's a country word. You should. It's just one word. You should be. And the people that love you the most, they come to you and they go, you should be.
Yeah.
Right? John, you should be.
Yeah.
And you should be. And
That's
you should
true.
be.
That's true.
And you got to hold. You got to hold in that moment and let my garden mature. And so when I just planted these seeds and I'm trusting the process that it's working itself out. And what I can't see is what Jesus said. He said, you plant a seed in the earth and it grows and you can't tell how. And all you can do is plant and trust that God and life and the earth is doing its own job. When you got the you should be's and the you ought to be and you should have done and all of that stuff, and you have to stand your face down into, I think God is maturing my garden, and I don't know the full assignment, but I trust the work that I'm doing right now. And when a weed grows in my 1-by-1 garden, I'm going to clean up the weed and I'm going to take care of this little weed as if it's 1,000,000 square miles wide. Because if I'm faithful in that little garden, then God said, I will grow the garden. I promise you I'll grow the garden. So all I've done over the years to get into this chair is just go, I know what's in front of me now. And I'm going to try to be the best at what's in front of me now. If you would have told me at 35, if the guy that prophesied this nasty word to me and said, God's going to put you on the back burner until you're 50, he would have said, but when you're in your 50s, the city rulers and the county rulers and the governments of the states are going to come to you and ask you how to move this from here to here. I wouldn't have caught it, and I wouldn't have believed it, and I wouldn't have understood it. I wouldn't have been ready for it, and I probably would have reached prematurely for it.
Oh, wow.
And if you get known too early, write this down. If you get known too early, you'll get known for the wrong things. If you ever get known for the wrong things, Solomon said, it's harder to fix your name than it is just to keep your name. Because if you get a bad name, it's over with, baby. You've got to reboot all of it. And the essence of the teaching is stay in your lane, stay in your assignment, trust the process of, trust that the seed is working its way to its full ear, and trust that when he says, I'm ready for you now, that you will have all that you need to be all that you never even knew you could be. And that's the key that I want everybody to catch. I had no idea that I could do or be or say these things to these types of people. It wasn't on my radar. I just wanted to be this epitome of what I assumed great life and leadership was. This is all I wanted to be, right in this little box right here. He knew better. And in the process of trusting, broke me, humiliated me, crushed my soul. And it was in that crushing that something began to birth itself that I didn't understand. I didn't have a script for. I didn't have a vision board for. I didn't have any of that stuff. For leaders that are outside my quote unquote jurisdiction to come to me and ask me, how would you do this and how should we move? That is bigger than I ever had imagined. I looked in the mirror and I couldn't see this anywhere inside my soul, but God saw it. And it's in the trusting of that simple process. When you're mad, hate it, and I shouldn't have done this, I hate this, you've got to stay and trust that Jesus said, the seed is in the earth doing what it does. Adamah is the word. You don't know, you can't see it, but it's doing it all by its own self. Then one day God opens you up and he opens your garden up to allow others to come partake of the fruit that he planted. Not that you planted, but that he planted in. And that's how you begin to touch cities. That's how cities begin to touch you. And you begin to touch them, and your influence grows in a space that you hadn't presupposed, you didn't pre-script it. That's how it works, John. It's not nobody, well, somebody may, but most people don't wake up and go, I want to be the king of the world. I want to be the president of the nation. No, if you wake up every day and just go, what has God assigned to me to do and to be great at? And take it, the energy of life, and don't let it leak into other good spaces, but just keep it in your space. God will open your garden one day. He'll open your assignment up into places and measures that you didn't script, in ways that you didn't ask, and probably in terms where you have to now adjust. Like now I'm having to adjust my lifestyle and schedule to adapt to the assignment that's gotten bigger than what I assumed it was going to. Now I have to adjust those things out, to just trust that process, because that's how God takes you to a city. That's how God lets the water of his life flow through to you, flow through you into a city and into a region and into a state, or whatever the case may be. That's how it works. It's one line upon one line upon one line upon one line. This is a circular staircase.
Yeah.
Right. That's how life works.
This podcast, we really have, I would say, we may have more than that, but three things that come up often in the themes of mastery, wealth, and then influence. So
Right.
One of the things that we believe is that God is looking for what we call the sons, or
Right.
the mature ones, to be able to have an impact and influence
Yeah.
here in the earth.
Yeah.
So your personal garden, what we talked about, your place of mastery, the first three episodes, your circle of concern versus circle of influence, focus. Figure out what the ground is underneath your feet, focus on that. Don't drift. Don't get
Right.
distracted by good things. Stay on your assignment. So focus is really the first three episodes. Now we're seeing in this episode that God is opening an opportunity here for each person that has stayed on target and mastered that space, to people that come and say, can you tell me about that a little bit? So in this episode, we're talking about becoming a city builder, but it gets super spiritual. Like in our background, it becomes very ethereal, and it's prayer walks and and stuff that's
All
good.
that
But
stuff.
what do you see that really moves the needle
Yeah.
from influence and impact in an actual city and a community? What does that really look like, in your space?
Well, there's three things, right? It's building something that touches people, building a business, building an influence, whatever you building a church. We still believe in church. I don't think we do not. Building something that not only employs people, but it touches people, that it impacts their life. Building houses, building something, whatever. Whatever. I think I heard Ralph was a mentor of mine, Ralph Huff, local guy, and years ago he said when he was running his building company, H&H Homes, he said we employ about 7,000 people every year.
Wow.
From the vendors and all the things that touch what they're doing. 7,000 people at that time, 250,000 people in the city that he was from, and so about 7,000 people, right? Just from that one. So build something that touches people, and allow the life in you to bleed into everything. It's what we call culture. Mm-hmm. Allow that culture to be depicted by the assignment that you make it godly, make it of a good character, a good reputation, is what the Bible says. So build something that touches people. And then you got to reclaim land. You got to reclaim things. You got to be a renovator of things. You got to be a restorer. You got to be a developer. You got to be able to develop not only people. You got to see a blank canvas and go, I think we could do something with that, right? That's what cities want to see. I just had this conversation today. They were like, man, if I gave you this, and this, what could you do with it? I said, man, you give me this right here. This is what it's going to look like in 5 years. I guarantee it. So they want to see people that can take dilapidation and make it into a renovation and go, man, that's really cool, right? Or to reanalyze something mentally, not just construction wise, but to reanalyze, re-architecture something and go, have you seen this? Let's put a plan together. This makes sense. Mm-hmm. So you build something that touches people, and you reclaim land and architects, and you reclaim policy. Policy affects every person in that city. You have an ability to be able to be influential in how the policy gets administered. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Whether you are supporting someone that wants to go in politics or you're that person that wants to go in politics, policies at every level affect every person under it. Every person gets affected by policy. So we've got to reclaim those things. We got to be able to envision it. Right now in our city, we're working on what's our 50-year plan. How do we script this out on a whiteboard? What should we look like in 50 years, and how do we move toward that? That's reclaiming. And then how do we take the policy and back this vision, right? It's reclaiming that, right? It takes time to get a seat at that table. It takes time to get a seat at that
Well, I was
table.
going to say, it just made me think right there, back through the first three episodes, and especially trying to bypass that, then you don't have anything to talk about.
Right.
Like you don't get invited to the table.
You don't get invited. If you haven't done anything, if you don't have success in your background, nobody wants you at the table. They have to look at you and go, well, John's life breeds success everywhere he goes. Let's get John in the room. And a lot of that has to do with God. But you still have to be the guy or the gal that's engineering that stuff. So you've got to engage. And the third thing is you got to engage. You got to be a part of it. You have to be a part of it, right? You can't go, man, I hate this city, and go sit at home.
Yeah.
Right? Wherever you are, or this community, or this church, or if this church would do, you got to engage. You got to be a part of the thing. Your DNA has to be excreted and extracted into the community. And if it's not, no matter how good you are, no one's going to know you're there. You got to get involved. You got to get into something. That's what it's important to be a part of your community, whether they're coming to you or you're going to it. It's always got to be this give and take thing. You got to be a part. So you got to build something. You got to reclaim stuff. You got to re-envision stuff. And then you just got to be engaged. You got to be in the know. You got to be your DNA has to bleed itself into the community that you want to change. That's how we change cities.
That transition, this is a significant transition in this episode, and I think you've identified it already, but I just want to reiterate. When did you know that the shift was on? Because I think one of the things, this is what I was talking about earlier. I would say my life went from a stage in a place of influence to more of a hidden place. So like you were saying, you had 13 years and then you had 15 years. When did you have the sense that, hang on a minute, I think God is inviting me to another space to elevate the voice? How did that begin to play out?
I used to be a worship leader. You remember that? I was a worship leader when me and my brother started church. Yeah, I did Cameron, but we grew and I had keyboard players and stuff. I had one keyboard player. His name was Mark Smith. I hope you see this, Mark. But we were doing Wednesday night, and we were doing a teaching. I forgot what it was, but my brother and I were in chairs similar to this and doing teaching. I don't know. It's irrelevant. Mark was on the keys, and young guy in his early 20s at the time, 24, 25. And he wanted to be a producer. He wanted to be big time, New York and L.A. and all this stuff. Lived in a little city called Rayford, right in the Southwest, right? And man, I got a word for him. I prophesied to him. I said, Mark, let me tell you, God said that he can find you anywhere you are. You don't have to go to them. They'll come find you when it's your season. And it's a great word for him, and it did happen. Fortunately for me, it did happen. Prophetic words, you actually want them to come to pass. But that word took into my own soul that night, and I changed the way I looked externally, how life works for you. And then I just made this commitment. I was just going to be me, authentically me. And if they want me, they'll come find me. So it happened in that way for me that they just happened to find me. One of my buddies who we have a fire night with several nights ago, he's like, how do we meet again? It's been very influential in my life. Helped me to meet a lot of influential people. The same thing with Ralph I met Ralph Huff, who's a great mentor of mine who has deep impact and influence in our city. I met Ralph because we were in an office space and his brother His older brother used to walk through my parking lot every day to go to the bar right there close to my house called Sand Trap. And we used to high five and just talk. And then one day we started really talking, and he asked him what his name was. Rick Huff. I was, Huff, are you Ralph? Kin to Ralph? He's Ralph, my little brother. It's crazy. Call him. Let's talk. See if I can do this with him. Boom, boom, boom. That's how it works. So I say all that to say that God found me wherever I was. You get good. If I never go anywhere else or any farther except this garden, when you get good with that, inside, like deep in my bone, if this is my garden and I never make it any bigger, it never goes any farther, God will find you. God came and found me in the smallest places over, and now I just see it over and over and over. I just show up in rooms, and I just did this year. I had this thing that happened, and I was just in the room. I'm just trying to learn. And within a few months, they go, "Can you take the room, please? Can you take the room?" And I'm going, "Who, me?" Right? God finds you. And all I did was I took my assignment of the garden that God had put in my hand. And I said, if this is as big as it gets, this is where it's going. I'll give my life to this. This assignment, I'm going to give it. That faithfulness impacted and improved, and God did the increase. That's how it works. That's the only thing I've ever seen, John, when you're comfortable enough to say, God, if you never come get me, I'm going to be okay. And if you take me to the nation, I'm going to be okay. That's when God. So all I did was I just figured I'd sit in my garden, tend that sucker. If he comes to get me, great. And if he never comes to get me, great. No one ever knows my name, whatever. This is what my. And he has found me over and over and over. That's how it's worked for me.
Man. So focusing then on where you are is the path to, well, I mean, it's really the only thing, because
It is.
it's really what you said. It's irrelevant either
Everything
way.
else does it. It's
And that's a hard pill to swallow initially,
for dudes, and I'm assuming for girls as well, right? For females.
because it's like, this may be all there is.
That's right. You see, Jack Nicholson played in a movie, As Good as It Gets. And long story, but he's in the psych office, the psychiatrist's office one day, and there's people in the waiting room, and he tries to bust in because he's very eccentric. And he's walking out, and he stopped, and he turns all the people in the waiting room. He said, "Have you ever thought, what if this is as good as it gets?" You have to be okay to look at your life and go, if this is as good as it gets, I'm going to be the baddest person. And you can do that, really do that. And if this is as big as it ever gets, this is going to be will make this the Adamah that people would just lavish life over. And I'm going to make this little square piece that God gave me the best it can possibly be until my last breath. I think that is when the real transformation happens inside of a person. And then I think God goes, I can use Darrin. I can use that. That's what I think. That's how I've lived. I didn't ask for city members and civic leaders. I didn't ask for any of that stuff. I didn't even have it on my radar. I just didn't think. I was a church boy, right? So I didn't ask for business leaders all over the country to call me. I was a church guy. I just want to preach. That's all I ever want to do. I just want to preach, pray, and prophesy.
Yeah.
That's all I cared about. Right? No idea. Just laid down in my garden and said, this is it. If this is my pea patch, this is going to be the best pea patch the world has ever seen. Or at least the best pea patch I can possibly.
Yeah.
And then when you trust that process long enough, God will find you, and he'll elevate you when it's your season. Planted by the rivers of living water. Planted by the rivers of living water. Producing your fruit in your season. Tree that's planted. That's all I did. And to me, that's the process of this whole thing. There's nothing else to it. There's not a lot else to it. If you can be okay with that, looking in the mirror and go, if you don't get no bigger, I'm gonna be okay, right? influence like nobody's ever seen.
Hmm.
Then God will find you in the dark places, and then he can give you the secrets and the treasures of darkness in hidden places. That's my opinion. I mean, if it's untrue, it's how I've lived it. It's how Mark lived it. I saw Mark get elevated and do some really cool stuff, and he knows some really cool people. And he still live in that little city called Brayford, North Carolina, where we play golf at. But for me, in my personal walk, all I did was get a little better every day, tend to my garden as excellent as I possibly could, and I gave the rest to God. You deal with it how you need to.
And that's good. So in this series, we talked about what ends in influence begins right where you're standing. The Adamah, which is the assignment that is in front of you, is the ground beneath your feet. Keep your circle of concern off to the side, and know that your influence is right where you are. Don't drift, stay on target. And your next is right in the middle of your now. If you've loved what you've heard in these episodes, there's a whole lot more that we do on an individual basis and with organizations. If you've got a company with leaders that you want coached, if you want coaching, if you want to elevate your life and take it to the next level, if you want to find mastery so that your influence can grow, so that you can make your life where you are the best, click the link below and reach out and let's do a first conversation about a consultation, maybe some coaching that we can do for you. Love to have a conversation. Click the link, hit us up, and we'll talk to you soon.